The election of Prime Minister Takai marked a turning point in Japanese politics, breaking through generations of male-dominated leadership. As Japan's first female prime minister, Takai's rise was more than a political victory, it was a cultural milestone, signaling a new era for the nation. Her pragmatic reform agenda and direct communication style resonated with a public tired of political ambiguity. Unlike her predecessors, Takai built her career outside traditional political dynasties, making her a symbol of hope and change. She spoke of economic revitalization as a tangible goal, aiming to improve wages and create opportunities for the younger generation. Takai's leadership represents a generational shift in a country facing an aging population and economic stagnation. Her decisive style and willingness to challenge long-held assumptions have energized supporters and unsettled the old guard. Internationally, her election has drawn attention, with world leaders watching to see how her bold agenda will reshape Japan's role. Takai is not just a new prime minister, she is the face of a Japan reimagining its place in the world. Prime Minister Takai's approach to the United States, especially regarding the legacy of Donald Trump, marks a clear break from past deference. For years, Japanese leaders prioritized smooth relations with Washington, often at the expense of Japan's own interests. Takai has ended this era of quiet compliance, insisting that the US-Japan alliance must be a partnership of equals. When confronted with protectionist trade measures, Takai's administration has stood firm, presenting data-driven counter-proposals and defending Japan's industries. Her assertiveness has surprised many in Washington, signaling a new era where Japan's interests are front and center. The unpredictability of Trump's policies forced Japan to reconsider its reliance on the US, prompting Takai to diversify partnerships and build a more resilient foreign policy. Her government is actively seeking new alliances, understanding that Japan can no longer afford to be a passive player in a multipolar world. Takai's interactions with the US are now about establishing a balanced foundation for the alliance, not just managing personalities. This shift is redefining Japan's diplomatic posture on the global stage. The world is watching as Japan asserts itself with newfound confidence. At the heart of Takai's foreign policy is a simple message: Japan seeks to be a partner, not a follower, of the United States. For decades, the alliance was defined by Washington's lead and Tokyo's support, but Takai is challenging this dynamic. Her government is now proposing its own initiatives for regional security and economic stability, emphasizing Japan's unique perspective on Asian affairs. By leading on issues like maritime security and infrastructure investment, Japan is proving itself a co-architect of regional order. Domestically, Takai is instilling national confidence, urging citizens to see Japan as a major global player. She argues that Japan's economic strength and democratic values demand a more prominent role in world affairs. This shift requires careful diplomacy. Asserting independence without alienating the US. Takai's goal is a stronger, more resilient alliance between two confident nations. In her vision, Japan is no longer a junior partner, but a vital pillar of a free and open Indo-Pacific. A cornerstone of Takai's agenda is a bold economic policy to increase the international use of the Japanese yen. For decades, the US dollar dominated global finance, but Takai's government is challenging this within Asia. Japan is encouraging companies to trade in yen, forging new agreements with partners like India and ASEAN. Currency swap arrangements and yen-denominated loans for infrastructure projects are making the yen a trusted medium of exchange. Takai is also engaging with China to promote both the yen and yuan in bilateral trade, aiming for a regional financial system less dependent on the dollar. By working with Asian partners, Japan is positioning itself as a central player in a more integrated economic zone. Internationalizing the yen lowers transaction costs, insulates Japan from external shocks, and projects financial power. This is a long-term strategy, but early steps have already signaled Japan's intent to build a multipolar financial system. Japan is no longer content to operate within a dollar-centric world. The yen is rising as a key pillar of stability and commerce in Asia. Japan's push to promote the yen in international trade subtly challenges the United States' financial dominance. The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency underpins American power, allowing cheap borrowing and effective sanctions. If Japan and its partners shift more trade to the yen or other regional currencies, global demand for the dollar could decline. This could make US debt more expensive and raise inflation, posing long-term risks for the American economy. Geopolitically, A regional alternative to the dollar could blunt the effectiveness of U.S. sanctions and reduce American influence. Some American strategists see this as a natural evolution, urging adaptation rather than resistance. The U.S. faces a dilemma: how to respond without damaging its crucial alliance with Japan. For now, Washington is watching closely, wary of how far Takai will push her agenda. Japan's moves are about creating a world with more centers of power, not open hostility. The success of this strategy could reshape the global financial order. The world is waiting to see if Asia's new financial architecture will take root. Prime Minister Takai is ushering in a new era of national confidence, replacing decades of cautious, reactive policy. The Takai Doctrine champions self-assurance and proactive independence, envisioning Japan as a normal country, defining its own interests. Japanese diplomats now speak with a more assertive voice, articulating distinct positions on global issues. Takai leads by example, engaging world leaders as a peer, not a junior partner. Domestically, she celebrates Japan's strengths, launching initiatives to promote culture, technology, and innovation. The goal is psychological independence, shedding post-war subservience and embracing a future as a confident, responsible global leader. Takai's leadership is catalyzing a national reawakening, making Japan more independent and sure-footed than in generations. A key pillar of Takai's vision is renewed focus on domestic manufacturing and technological self-reliance. Her government's economic security policies aim to bring critical industries, like semiconductors and medical supplies, back to Japan. The Made in Japan 2.0 initiative offers subsidies and incentives for companies to build advanced factories at home. Laws have been strengthened to protect Japanese technology from foreign acquisition, safeguarding national security. Increased public funding for research and development is fueling innovation and reviving industrial towns. By making more essential products domestically, Japan reduces vulnerability to global crises and geopolitical pressures. Takai's push for self-reliance is a practical step toward a stronger, more independent nation. The world is watching Japan because Takai's changes could reshape Asia and beyond. For the first time in decades, Japan is an assertive player with its own agenda, moving from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. Takai is transforming Japan from an economic powerhouse to a strategic and diplomatic leader, building coalitions across Asia. Her economic policies, especially the push to internationalize the yen, could change the global financial system. If successful, Japan's actions may pave the way for a multipolar currency world, reducing dependence on the US dollar. Takai's tenure marks Japan's embrace of its potential as a global leader, forging alliances on more equal terms. By championing a strong, self-reliant Japan, she is redrawing the map of power in the 21st century. The world is watching because what happens in Japan now echoes far beyond its borders.